right on this one. Fuck! RELI. Pretty decent headline. Digital Treasury. $2 million, but I think I remember this news coming out. Something like this already. It was like a few days ago. Fuck me. I know they fucking came out with something. That's why it's not moving. Reliance Group announces strategic purchase. Announcement. Shit, I bet you they fucking halted it. The float's 3 million. I bet you they fucking halted it, those sons of bitches. Share. The float's 2 million.
so obsessed with inflation? I don't think so. I think it's because the reference bias of the recent shock, which is making for the environment of soft employment, lowering rates, and people seeing that as a bullish development.
Yeah, I mean, I think CPI since 1990s averaged high twos, right? I mean, it's not like it's always been two.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Michael, good to talk to you.
Thank you. Thanks.
A surprise on the upside for home sales, a late summer surge. Let's get to Diana Ola, who's got the details. Hey, Diana.
Hey, Melissa. Yeah, pending home sales, which are based on signed contracts, rose 4% in August from July and were nearly 4% higher year over year. The Street was just looking for flat. Now, this read is a forward-looking indicator of closed sales in September and October, and closings have been pretty weak for a while now. Mortgage rates in August, when people were out signing these deals, were slightly lower than they were in July, but not nearly as low as they are now. Last week, we saw a huge jump in August sales of newly built homes, which are also measured by these signed contracts. And while most expect it to be revised lower, all agreed that the trajectory for sales overall is higher because of these falling interest rates. Now, a survey of realtors showed 19% expect an increase in buyer traffic over the next 3 months. That's up from 16% last month, but fewer actually expect an increase in seller traffic compared with July. And we did see inventory in August fall for the first time since the start of this year. Sales did increase in 3 out of the 4 regions, with just the Northeast dropping. Sales were strongest in the Midwest. That is where homes are cheapest. Builder stocks, though, are not moving much on this. Perhaps everyone's still waiting until the all-important jobs report Friday. If it comes Friday, that could move the markets. Back to you guys.
Since the declines that we saw, Diana, in mortgage rates, they have ticked higher. So is it assumed that we are going to see the pace slow in the various indicators next month and coming months?
Yeah, we look at these moves. They're still lower than they were in August, even though they ticked back up a bit after they came down really sharply just before the Fed cut its interest rates. So we're talking about really between 6.5% and 7%, or 6.25% and 7%. That's where we've been over the last really 2 years. So it's not a big difference. It's more that emotional. Are the rates coming down? Is their trajectory lower? That might be juicing sales. So we'll see.
Yep. Diana, thanks. Diana Ola. Coming up, Tesla touching a 10-month high and wrapping up its best month since November. Barclays is calling it the return of the OG meme stonk, seeing nearly 40% downside from here. The analyst joins us next to make his case.
Plus, President Trump expected to meet with the top 4 congressional leaders today as lawmakers try to avoid a government shutdown. The details and sticking points to the deal ahead. The Exchange back after this.
This is The Exchange on CNBC.
Creativity is one of those things that you have to be true to who you are. So at Stellantis, for Super Bowl, we do something called a jump ball. And jump ball basically means that any agency that wants to pitch or has approached us or we approach them has an opportunity to give their best creative idea. From there, we decide, okay, not only what's the best idea, but what is the story that we're trying to tell? And so one thing I always try to keep in mind is, if I'm a reporter and I see a body of creative, what do I want the reporter to say? And if it's business as usual and it's something that really doesn't resonate, then the idea isn't good enough. But then also having a perspective of what's the outcome that I'm expecting? Am I trying to inspire and engage? Am I trying to entertain? Or am I trying to get someone to take some sort of action? But that end result typically is, what do I want people to walk away with?
Competition is a huge part of ambition. I've raced cars for about 30 years. Car racing is so competitive, kind of like the financial markets. CNBC's audience is the most ambitious audience there is.
I don't know. Some of the things that I like about this is this volume bar is increasing. That one would scare me if it was red and it was close to here, or definitely would scare me if it went above this one. The MACD is still increasing momentum and it's still open. This line. 2 minutes left on this candle. See, even if though. Okay, so it changed to green. I think the only thing that would concern me, even if it was green, though, is that it's a lower green bar. So it means that it possibly could be losing momentum. The volume's light, too.
Welcome back to the exchange. Tesla's big September rally has got one analyst reminiscing about the good old meme stock days. In a new note this morning, Barclays credits the stock's run up to retail excitement surrounding the EV maker's upcoming annual shareholder meeting. They say this rally feels similar to the bull run that took the stock to all-time highs back in 2020 and 2021. Barclays' Dan Levy joins us now to break down his note. Dan, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tim, that's a crazy candle, though.
Stock, a meme stock, is almost like an insult. The implication being that there aren't any fundamentals behind what is moving the stock. Is that what you're trying to get across, or just that the moves can be much sharp, wildly sharp, and just suddenly? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if this is sort of an indictment of the stock, or if it's actually a good thing.
Well, there is more.
I don't know. I don't like this one. I'm probably being impatient, but